Hey there folks, how's it going? Got a quick lesson for you today on the lick that you just heard. That's something I found listening to some old live recordings of the Osborne brothers from the 70s and 80s, and it's something really cool that Sonny Osborne played on a version of Sunny Side of the Mountain. Sonny was obviously a huge innovator on the banjo, and he did a lot of those things live, so I'd be really interested to find out where he first played this lick. It's not something that I've heard on recordings, but it's possible that it's out there. I actually am not the best source on information about Sonny Osborne, something I've listened to a lot, but not done as much studying, something I'm working on now. But first, take another listen to this lick. I'll play it fast and then slow. This lick is great. It works over two measures of D. In this case, he's using it in the key of G, or at least G position, and he's using it over the 5 chord, D. So at first glance, this looks a lot like some classic bluegrass banjo language, stuff that Earl would play all the time out of this position. But there's a couple other interesting things going on here, specifically the inclusion of the open B string, which is not really present in much of that stuff that Earl played out of that position, but also some syncopation, meaning we're emphasizing notes on off beats, not strong beats, specifically that open B string. So when you play this lick, make sure you're emphasizing that open B string. The B note is a pretty interesting note within that lick. It's not in the D chord, it's something extra, but also the fact that it's happening on those off beats, emphasizing that gives you that syncopation. And just to drive that point home, here's two versions of that lick. The first is going to be just kind of flat, not really emphasizing anything. And the second will emphasize a couple notes, specifically that open B string, which really, I think, gives you the sound of that lick. Now, how would you actually use this lick in a real-world situation? Well, it takes up two measures over the chord D, so it works great out of a G position on the 5 chord or the D chord in the key of G. So here's an example playing G, C, D, 1, 4, 5, and when I get to the 5 chord, the D chord, I'll use that lick. By the way, if you're looking for tablature for all of the examples in this lesson and all of my lessons, you can find that at patreon.com/EliGilbertBanjo, which is where I put up the tablature, backup examples, bonus tips, all kinds of stuff that you can't find here on YouTube. Also, if you don't mind, go ahead and subscribe to this channel and like this video. That's another huge thing you can do to help me make more of these videos. So if you do that, I really appreciate it. Anyway, back to the lesson. But I think the really important thing to think about is that this lick is really more just D going to G in general. So it also worked great in the key of D on the way to G. So here's D, G, A, or 1, 4, 5 in the key of D using that lick. Now, all of that is great. That is the way that Sonny Osborne played that lick, and that's where he used it, and it sounds great. But as usual, when I learn something new, I want to see what else can be done with it. And as usual, there are so many different things you can do, but sometimes the easiest is just to play that information somewhere else on the neck. If it's down low in the neck, you can bring it up high, vice versa. So this is relatively low on the neck. I want to see where else could I put this information. Well, I kind of discovered something, and this is not by any means a breakthrough. This is actually kind of stupidly obvious, but I never really thought about it in these terms before. But think about what this position is. This is F sharp, A, D. Just rearranged D major chord. I never really thought about it in these terms exactly, but this shape is the same as this shape. Just this up the neck position for D. And I know that's obvious, it's the same notes, F sharp, A, D, why would it be anything else? But I just never really thought about it in those terms. I have so many different licks that I play that Earl and now Sonny Osborne played here. Maybe some of those would work up here. So more research to be done here, but I at least figured out that I can definitely play this exact lick all the way up here, and it sounds pretty cool. To me, that has just as much of the value as the down the neck version of that lick, and now it's something kind of new. It's possible somebody else has played that exact thing before, but it's definitely not something I've played or would have thought to play unless I wanted to mess around a little bit with some of the information that I've already learned. And just to show how well this works, here's another example, just going G, C, and D, 1, 4, 5 in the key of G, using that lick when we get to the D chord. Okay, and now just one more thing. Whenever you find something you can play in a closed position, meaning that it's mostly fretted notes, that also means that you can move it pretty much anywhere else you want, which means that I don't just have to use this right here, I can use this for this shape anywhere on the neck, and for any major chord that fits into this shape. So in theory, I could play this for any major chord in the key of G, like G, C, D. I could use this anywhere. So again, here's that G, C, D, 1, 4, 5 in the key of G. This time using that lick in each position. The same pattern, same fingering. I'll have the drone G note at the top, that's okay, but it'll work differently over each chord. So hopefully you can see that this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this relatively small piece of information. It's just 2 measures of music on one chord in one part of the neck. And we found different places we can play out on the neck over different chords, and that's probably still just 1% of the stuff you could do just with this one lick. That doesn't mean you have to do all of it, doesn't mean you have to do all of this to everything you learn, but there's always more that you can do to mess with things, try to understand it a little bit better, try to stretch it, and fit it to your needs as a musician. For myself, I'm excited to spend more time with this lick, but even more excited to investigate more of Sonny Osborne's playing, so be on the lookout for more of that content coming up soon. But otherwise, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you check out Patreon if you're looking for the tablature for all of this stuff, all the tablature for all of my videos. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, all of that stuff, but that's going to do it for this one. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.